Welcome back, everyone. We are here for the 12th round of our SCG Columbus 20K. That is, of course, still the modern format. This will be the last round for me and Jarvis, and I expect it to be a great one. We're going to be kicking this one off with Dave Shields, who we got to see plenty of, some masterful work with creativity, versus Marcus Davanzati is what I'm going with. Please don't hate me, Marcus. I did my best. Playing some more Teamer Rhinos action. Jarvis, something I kind of meant to touch on before when we were watching Dave play, but didn't really ever get around to it. When we talk about the modern format and how it's kind of progressed, creativity more or less has kind of fallen off. You talk about Scam, you talk about Tron, Amulet, all these other decks, Rhinos especially. Creativity isn't as much in the conversation as far as top dogs, top decks. I know Dave's an enthusiast. He's had a great run here today. Talk to me about, kind of creativity in this format and specifically in these kinds of matchups against the other top decks.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons it fell off was it kind of felt like the best way of putting it is it felt like a lot of the other decks got upgrades where it's kind of hard for creativity to get an upgrade. You'll get some minor side grades here and there. Lord of the Rings in particular, not a huge amount of cards from the set that can be even put into the deck. Also, it looks like we're playing against Yawgmoth, not creativity. So,
okay. So this is TJ playing Yawgmoth, which is a very different matchup from Rhinos. So
I
apologies to the viewers here. I was going off of what was on the overlay instead of what I was watching personally. Is Overgrown Tomb going to kick things off, notably not a Teamer land as we pass the Dave Shields. Looks like it's going to kick us off with a believe no, that's Jetmir's card. I'm pretty sure that was Jetmir's card. I'm going to learn this one day.
Well, I'm not going to learn the alternate art ones, but I'll learn the regular ones.
I respect. Spoken like a true boomer is Wall of Roots off Pendlehaven. There's a land I know you know. Passing back to Dave. Going to be here on turn 2. So how threatening is Wall of Roots for Dave? Like, if you have a removal spell for this, something like Leyline Binding or whatever, how likely is Dave to actually use it? Maybe something like Triome Leyline Binding. Are we scared of this?
It depends a lot on Dave's exact hand, and also I think the thing it actually primarily depends on is what happens on the next few turns. Are you going to use all of your mana? If you're going to use all of your mana every other turn, you might as well just get rid of it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Because now this Wall of Roots does bridge the gap to like Blackland, Yogg next turn, but there's no undying creatures in place there. It doesn't matter. And yeah, it looks like they're going to go ahead and fetch, and that fetch alongside, I don't know if you've heard of this card, Red and 6. Pretty good with fetch lands. There's some synergy there. Go ahead and get that kind of value trend roll. Yeah, look at that. Pick up, Scalding Tarn back to hand. This we pass over to TJ, not Marcus.
Yeah, a lot of value accruing for Dave over the next few turns. Yogg not very good at killing a Planeswalker directly. Usually what's going to happen is Yawgmoth, the namesake card in the deck, is just going to kill the opponent instead, either like overwhelming them in card advantage, or there are actual, infinite life loss combos associated with the deck as well.
Right. And so, we have like Strangleroot Geist for hasters. That does not take down Planeswalkers that well. And like, Yawgmoth does look a little bit restricted here as far as what it is capable of. But we did fetch a Swamp very quickly. Mana Made right away. It's going to be Grist, the Hunger Tide. Now, here's a Planeswalker that can take care of another Planeswalker, I believe. That's something we're in the market for. We are not. A 1-1 going to be made. Court of Calling going to hit the bin. Thanks for the uptick. Now we got to find an insect token. So when we're talking about this kind of a matchup, creativity, I have to imagine Archon's pretty good against the deck. We're talking about a creature strategy. Archon's doing the discard thing, the sacrifice thing, all going to be pretty relevant. Is TJ under pressure here to try to execute a quick Yawgmoth kill? Or is this, is there not really enough blockers that maybe something like the Strangleroot Geist beat down alongside Grist to kind of get what little blockers there are out the way is going to be good enough some amount of the time for the Yawgmoth deck? How much pressure is Yawgmoth on to execute a combo quickly?
I don't think it's a matter of doing it quickly. I think it's actually a matter of doing it when Dave has the shields down because he's tapped out from creativity. I think actually a pretty common play experience in this matchup is Dave taps out, say, for creativity X=1, makes TJ sack a creature and discard a card. Then immediately TJ fires back with Yawgmoth kill you, which I don't know if you know this. A cruel ultimatum's not as good as killing your opponent.
yeah. Cool Ultimatum, despite often reading kill your opponent when you're talking about fair style matchups, does not actually put the check mark on the game. We got the little overlay updated now. It does say TJ. Also, a last name I'm going to struggle to pronounce. Very, very sorry about that, TJ. When I ever get around to that, I will, I'm sure, butcher it. I will put that off in the meantime and consider my options. As Dave, also considering his options, looks like we might be rolling down this Renin 6? Pick off the insect? That's a tough way to do it.
I like this from Dave because it gives respect to the fact that he knows what matters from the Yawgmoth side is having trinkets or just, Ren minus plus a bolt takes out the grist.
Sure. Take care of the grist. That's way better. Get the grist off the battlefield with a very beautiful lightning bolt. Scalding Tarn added to the mix. We knew about that one from the Renin 6. Pass back. Only one in hand. And in-step Bowmasters. That's going to put enough in play to pressure the Renin 6. That's a good one to have here and a huge pickup. You talked about decks getting upgrades. Big upgrade for the Yawgmoth deck, I'd say, is Orcish Bowmasters, bringing, of course, its Orcish army along with it. As we pass back to TJ. Takes a draw step. As you said, having a lot of trinkets in play, and a lot of trinkets in play does TJ have. We'll see if we're going to go after the Ren now, or if we got some shenanigans to do beforehand. All the creatures in play are 1/1s. Pendelhaven actually plays here in multiple ways. And there is an attack with everything but Bowmasters at Ren. Bowmasters is going to go at Dave himself. See if we're going to try to get involved with any kind of removal spells here. Now, obviously, it doesn't feel great using a removal spell in any of this, but maybe keeping your Ren around is worth it.
Well, the thing is, if Dave uses a bolt, say on one of the tokens, what can TJ do is just Pendelhaven the other one, and then you would have to have another removal spell. So I think just letting it go is better.
Dave agrees. Ren's going to go down to the graveyard. Dave's going to go down to 16. And we are post-combat with Wall of Roots not yet activated for turn. Very quick fetch with Wall of Roots. So, yeah, now we're talking about, we're at a mana threshold where if we play Yawgmoth here, we could draw some cards, do some stuff. It's not lethal. Do we just hold Yawgmoth until it's lethal time? Or do we just want to get it down, maybe cash in a few cards, and especially alongside something like Bowmasters that might re-up on the Orcish army, you could just keep drawing cards off that kind of synergy if Dave starts getting involved with Fables or Prismatic Bands or whatever the draw cards.
Great question. I think that depends a lot on whether TJ has another Yawgmoth. If you have a second Yawgmoth, it's a lot better to just run out the first. I think generally I would just run out here because you can cash in enough cards. That's, 1 from the token, 2 from the token, notes from Wall of Roots. So you can also Court of Calling for 1 on Dave's turn, not on TJ's turn because he's already used the wall once.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that. Yeah, that's impressive because Wall of Roots is green, makes it green. That's strong.
Wall of Roots in general with exactly Court of Calling is sort of an ancient tomb.
Okay, yeah, sure is. Now we're going to go ahead and sack the Orcish army to draw a card, lose a life. I think I saw a Beseiju in hand. So maybe with the trigger on the stack, can we do some kind of Beseijuing stuff? Is it 2 triggers, or can we do some of the goofy Banishing Light stuff where it doesn't get exiled at all? Yeah, look at that.
All modern templating for those types of effects says, you can't really get screwed by killing it at any point.
Okay.
They don't Fiend Hunter it anymore.
Yeah, okay, that's smart. Yeah, because that was terrible. That was so bad. And here we are into Dave's turn, and now the Yogmoth actually weirdly kind of protected by this Leyline Binding, because if we do it on in-step just to keep it around, then we give Dave extra mana and all kinds of problems. It's exposed to removal spells. Nothing good happens. But if we just wait till in-step, we just get the surprise Yawgmoth back, and if Dave has done anything on his turn, we're in trouble. And that's nothing to say for the beatdown that's still happening in play. Yeah, it's kind of mopey. Your Orcish Bowmasters, your Insect. But Dave can't really do much of anything. If he draws cards, then the pressure gets increased quickly. If he just uses some removal spells, his stuff in play isn't that strong. So yeah, we're just going to try to attempt a creativity right now for 1.
Oh, this is going to be a blowout.
No.
It's the Boseiju on that, and then kill the token,
and then
draw
Yogg's back and you kill the token. Oh no. Wow. What a blowout. Boseiju endures, blows up Leyline Binding. Dave can get a land, maybe even a Dwarven Mine, but that doesn't really add a lot. The target for the creativities, the 1/1 dwarf that was made off the Dwarven Mind played this turn, and we could just use Yawgmoth, sacrifice a token or whatever, and just kill the token. And then not only did we fizzle the creativity, we have Yawgmoth in play that we get to untap with, and Dave is tapped out. And another card coming for, so everything is coming up TJ here from that massive blowout. Jeez.
So, there was a brief discussion if what was happening to the token. Obviously, Dave knew that TJ was going to kill it, sort of just shortcutted to not even bothering, with the creativity.
Getting one out, yeah. Whatever, you're going to kill this thing anyway, I'm off it. So Grist, Wall of Roots in hand. And, I mean, Yawgmoth in play, if an Undying creature's found, will really start cooking. In the meantime, we have some options. We can start sacking some stuff. That Wall of Roots about to die. 4 -0, -1 counters on it at the moment. We'll see exactly how TJ wants to sequence, but big turn last turn for him.
So he's actually using it for mana, which I think is interesting. Or no, I guess he cashed it in for a card. Kind of unclear which way it's going, but he wrote -1 on the life total and drew a card, so... pretty clear.
Yeah, that's the assumption there. Just like, the cool thing about the Yawgmoth, like you just like throw your creatures in the graveyard. It's like, okay, what is even happening to this creature? I don't even know. There's options. So Wall of Roots number 2 here.
I think the fastest way for TJ to win may just be stocking the graveyard 12 creatures and minusing or ulting Grist rather, which is a lot of damage.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if we can't get anything else started, Yawgmoth's going to hit the bin from the +1 on Grist. Going to make another insect token. Here comes a smackdown for 3. That puts Dave down to 12. Yeah, we got 3 cards represented, and like we mentioned, a little bit of a squeeze here because creatures die to Yawgmoth. If you try to, like, draw some cards in order to, like, refill or rebuild or whatever, Orcish Bowmaster's going to punish that. So a little bit of an onboard squeeze despite the beatdowns looking somewhat mopey. And we see that represented double Prismari Command in hand alongside Bitter Reunion.
Yeah, it's weird. You can't really use the Prismari Command to loot and deal damage. So basically, hypothetically, suppose you cast Prismari Command dealing 2 damage to Bowmasters and having yourself loot. The problem is state-based actions aren't checked until the spell is finished resolving, so you'll still take 2 damage and amass 2 will occur.
And there's tricks with the Yawgmoth and amass things, right? Like in between the triggers, we can do some sacking, and then it's just like every trigger's a card. That seems real tough. But if we find something like an Archon, there is a Persist, and maybe we can start to battle that way. All right, so it looks like that was definitely Kill Your Bowmasters was definitely something said. I have to imagine treasures being made because we're sacking the Bowmasters to draw a card. Yeah, down to 14 goes TJ, card coming.
Right,
great.
So...
All right, I like this sequence. Make a treasure. Have to get that Bowmasters out of here in order to really start to make any progress. What is the follow-up for Dave? A lot of options.
Okay, that's fine.
Wait, should a treasure be made if there's only 1 target for a spell, right? And it was fizzled?
It might be target player makes a treasure.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that real quick. If it's also targeted, it's fine, obviously.
Yeah, I think
it's also targeted. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I thought I think they started doing that templating on these cards in order to stop that exact field ads as well. You talk about modern templating, that's a good save. Yep. As here's a Dwarven Mine, gonna make a 1/1 Dwarven, I guess minor, but yeah, that one can be killed at literally any point.
That's not a Dwarven Miner. A Dwarven Miner is a 1 in red, 1/2 that has 2 in a red tap, destroy target non-basic land.
Well, why doesn't it make those? Why doesn't the Dwarven Mine make Dwarven Miners? What gives?
You don't want it to make those, trust me.
Okay, that's fair. I'll trust you on this one. As here comes another insect token off of Grist. Milled over, it looks like Wall of Roots number 3. Oh, man. 3 mana reached for here from TJ. He drew a couple cards on the last turn, so a lot of hand updates. Make that 4 mana. There's the cord for 1. This, I think, has to represent just a ton of cards, right? Because we got Young Wolf. We can sack the Young Wolf, get the party started, pick off the Dwarf, not Miner. Specifically not Miner, it's just a Dwarf hanging out, not very good at his job. Bam. See you later. Undying Trigger comes back. +1/+1 counter, card coming for TJ. So now, we're looking for what? Another Undying creature or like a Blood Artist style effect? That's something. We're reaching for mana. It's second Young Wolf. Okay, so now we've assembled Yawgmoth's bargain. Attacking for 3. Down to 9.
Yeah. Yawgmoth's bargain for 2 BB instead of 4 BB.
Stonks. Well, I mean, it's 2 BB GG.
But I mean, it's separated. You can.
Yeah, paid in installments, whatever. Look, it's the best comparison I had. What do you want from me? Over to Dave we go, who is now somewhat in dire straits. It's not clear to me that Dave isn't just like dead, like no game actions that he can take actually matter, but it feels like we're close to that territory when we're talking about a Yawg with all this stuff in play.
I think it's close, and also I think even though like creativity into 2 things, well, creativity into 1 thing is probably not good enough, because I think what happens is TJ takes a bunch of damage and it ends up, the creature itself ends up like dying to the grist on the way out. Or if Dave goes for, say, you know, bitter reunion activation, it might just get killed by the Archon itself. Might just get killed by Yawgmoth or something like that.
Oh, sure, just piling up counters on it. Good lord, that would be impressive.
TJ wouldn't be at much life after that, but I think it would probably be enough, is how I would put it.
Sure. It looks like we're doing a little bit of loot action. Didn't get a great look at the other modes, so I have to assume it was a treasure. I don't think he pointed at anything.
Well, I don't think shocking anything on this board does very much, so it probably is make a treasure.
Yeah, unless you try to kill the Yawgmoth or something, and even that's like, you know, not really solving anything.
The damage has been done. It's actually pretty likely if you try to kill the Yawgmoth that TJ will just find another one.
Right, yeah, you can just look at so many cards. But yeah, it was make a treasure. And Dave, head in hands. Have to imagine not optimistic about getting out of this one. TJ, calm, cool, collected. Having a good time. Sacking creatures.
I think the turning point of this game was that Boseiju turn where Dave thought he was safe, and then everything fell apart really quickly.
Yeah, I was like, oh, what are you going to do to answer enchantments? Yeah, check out. Have you heard of this one? Boseiju endures. Cool. Yeah, that was a huge blowout. Definitely defined the texture of the rest of the game from there. Ren, and looks like Basic Mountain hitting the ground off of Prismari command. So Persist does not have anything to persist right now, but we got some more mana to work with. Looks like we're reaching for Fable the Mirror Breaker. Gonna cast that one and make a 2/2. Welcome to the first chapter. Alright, now we're in end step. Orcish Bow Masters adds 2 more bodies. Now we might just be looking at, are the attacks lethal?
Well, it's very close to it. It might actually be literally lethal.
We're sacking the army right away. And I think the Young Wolf as well. So yeah, sack the army, put a -1/-1 on the Young Wolf, and then sack that Young Wolf.
Court of Calling is also lethal. So if you cycle a bunch of cards and chord for Blood Artists, it should be good enough. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really. I think this is. I would describe this as garbage time, where no matter what you do, it basically wins the game.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many cards at the top of your library have to be blank in order to get this over with. But I mean, we can literally just draw a card and do this one.
They each have a +1. Yeah. Okay. Draw the turn.
Okay, I guess we just sack the Young Wolf to draw
1,
an extra
2,
card.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9 damage.
Oh, okay. We just assembled that. Nice
2, 3, 4,
combo.
5.
Don't need that garbage.
Yeah.
Attack. That's gonna do it for game 1. What on earth? Yeah, I mean, we've seen this over and over again from the Yawgmoth deck. It just like looks like it has an embarrassing clock until it doesn't, and then you're dead. And it's like, what happened this game? But as you called out, I think that Boseiju really the turning point for this game, and an impressive amount of patience from TJ, and it got paid off big, being able to pick that off and then stop that creativity, and really just took the wind out of Dave's sails. And we'll see what kind of adjustments can be made for Yawgmoth in the sideboard. I feel like normally we don't really respect Yawgmoth that much with like specific includes, right? Like what tools does he even have?
Social Purge looks fine, not great. The weird thing about Purge is, one really awkward thing about it is I think trying to play the all removal game versus Yawgmoth can sometimes not work that well. But it might just be the case that if you handle the other stuff and then like cast Purge on a clear board on the Yawgmoth, it does work out okay.
Right, so, like, how good are, like, Spell Pierce Lightning Bolts? You see those kind of getting pulled to the front versus, like, you know, now we've upgraded this removal as far as what it does, but it's now 2 mana. That's problematic, I'm sure, to some degree as well. But being able to pick off Grist maybe matters to some degree. We saw kind of a lot needing to be done to pick off the first Grist, like, alongside Lightning Bolt for Dave in Game 1, and I think Purge would have rather had it there. But, you know, how often does that come up? Not as sure. But Spell Piercers look like they're going to be the first cards out. Reach for those very, very quickly.
So the real awkward thing about Spell Pierce in this matchup is you cannot Spell Pierce Grist because it is a creature on the stack. Because in every zone, except being in play, it counts as a 1/1 creature.
Why? So can wait, what's...
No, the wording on Grist says that.
Oh my goodness. What's Stern Scolding? Can we Stern Scolding
Yes,
Grist?
you can.
Oh,
you can, in fact.
Definitely a die roll.
Grist, intuitive card for sure. 1/1 in every zone except play, so can't Spell Pierce that. Leaves it with not very many targets. It's basically just Eldritch Evolution support of things of that nature, which there are much less of than there are creatures in the Golgari Yawgmoth deck. So some very light sideboarding for Dave. For the Yawgmoth deck, you know, I don't know how much you want for creativity. Maybe some amount of your removal matters. Any discard that you may have access to might also be quite effective, but for the most part, you can't really dilute your deck too much. I think I saw Haywire might. I don't know if that's in the main deck. I have to imagine that one.
So, I want to note for one very specific thing. If you pay very close attention to the spells Dave played that game, you saw Bitter Reunion, and that card correlates to Persist. So I wonder if TJ has Endurance in the deck now because of that. I would say Endurance normally doesn't do that much versus creativity. Once you've seen Persist, the bar might move a little bit.
Yeah, and like maybe the cost on 1 is low enough that having something to cord for, so you don't just get randomly checkmarked by that. If you just need to spew off a cord, might make some amount of sense. I don't know. TJ, once again, these are the players that are performing very well in this event. They are presumably quite skilled in their craft and their decks. I have to imagine they're going to have the answer to that question better than we do, but I can see it. I can see 1. I like 1. And I think they might even main deck 1, right? Just for that specific reason.
Sometimes depends. Like it. I don't keep up on the week to week. That's probably like a weekly metagame adjustment thing. I guess I can check real quick on the websites. Audio's last list has 2 main deck Endurance and 1 main deck Shield Grid. So this is probably the person I would trust the most with Yogmoth list. Not obviously there's multiple people who play it, but that is what I would expect more often than not for people to have.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get the update, the overlay corrected here. TJ did win game number 1, got that corrected just now. And a opening hand full of a bunch of different Magic cards. New pickup from the Lord of the Rings set for the Yawgmoth deck. Of course, some Delighted Halfling. A lot of talk about putting Teferi Time Raveler in play with that one. You can also just put Grist and Yawgmoth in play as it happens, which deck's named after Yawgmoth. Gotta be pretty good there.
So one key thing about the Halfling is it doesn't die to Renin 6 or Bowmaster, which is one of the reasons to adopt it.
Matters a lot in this matchup too. We saw Renin 6 do a little bit of work picking off some stuff in game number 1. Hand of Lightning Bolts has Dave Shields, and looks like not a lot else. Creativity, maybe a little Bitter Reunion, a little bit of stuff. But really the question with this hand is how good is Lightning Bolt average breakdown against Yawgmoth? Looks like good enough. Dave's going to keep tap Steam Vents and a passing of the turn over to TJ. Also kept his hand as well. Like the mix there. Blooming Marsh coming down and Delighted Halfling added to the mix. Quick untap from Dave. We know about some Lightning Bolts. Can't imagine that Delighted Halfling is going to stay around too long.
Bolt the Hobbit.
Yeah, Bolt the Hobbit. I hate that. Bring back the birds. Hobbits are for the birds.
Well, one thing about Dave's hand, obviously it doesn't look that exciting, but I think it's a 7-card hand with 2 Bitter Reunions and the Bolt. I'm inclined to keep and just use the Bitter Reunions to find the cards you're missing later on.
Well, how about that? We're just going to bolt everything. Blood Artist, Blooded Halfling, no creatures for you. We saw what any amount of creatures amounts to as soon as Yawgmoth hits the board. Not having it, as here's Shock Stomping Ground. Fable the Mirror Breaker going to make the Goblin Shaman on a clear board. And this is looking a lot better of a turn 3 for Dave than we saw in game number 1.
Yep.
Even the power of Wall of Roots, which was TJ's mana dork of choice in game 1. Here's Grist, powerful 3 mana play for TJ to match the Fable of the Mirror Breaker from his opponent. Yawgmoth is a mill off of the Grist +1, and Insect token is going to be made. Back to Dave we go. No Bowmasters for this second chapter.
Oh my God.
Cards gonna be discarded.
But it looks like we have creativity. You can fetch for Dwarven Mine, attack, make a treasure. Creativity for 2, targeting the Dwarven Mine token and the Goblin Shaman.
Oh wow, and that would be 2 Archons, which would clear the whole board, both Grist and the Insect token.
Yeah.
That just might take care of everything. And TJ, despite a great start, tapping out every turn, might just be dead right here.
Well, not literally dead, but effectively dead is how I would put it.
Right, I mean, we talked about the optimism one should have on tapping, passing the turn with Archons in play about their chances of winning the game from there. But
I think Dave is just double checking the math to make sure it works. Dotting your I's, crossing your T's, might as well. The nice thing about creativity is it is a grindy deck, but when it wants to turn up the pressure, it can do so very quickly.
yeah, no kidding. I mean, we've seen Dave play extremely deliberately, shooting methodically, and kind of really navigate games such a way that we're not really power killing anybody. We're just waiting for our spots, and we're still resolving our Fable here. But here we might see just tapped out TJ. We're just going to go for a quick kill because we have it. And that's not really something we've seen a ton of from Dave from the matches we've seen so far this weekend. Might get to see it here, and it's probably going to be good enough based on what we know. Bitter Reunion, the only discard from the Fable. Here comes an attack with Goblin Shaman at Grist. I love this. It's like not even signaling that we're planning on, answering Grist or doing anything relevant.
Well, the thing is, if it's a creativity for 2, I think dealing TJ the 2 damage makes more sense if that is our plan. Maybe our plan isn't a creativity for 2. I'm trying to figure it out. Maybe I missaw the hand.
No, there is an Arid Mesa right there. It's going to get fetched. Yeah. Okay, and Dwarven Mine is going to get grabbed. Here comes another token. Here's a creativity for 1. Off the Dwarven Mine token. Yeah, we're just going for 1. Okay.
Huh.
Won't even need 2. What could the mana represent?
That is kind of... Yeah, I don't... Well, you can do it for 2 by sacrificing your treasure, right?
Right, yeah, I mean, sack your treasure, target the shaman, and then you got both? Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, maybe the 1 mana is representing a play that, would keep Dave more alive than the second Archon. Not clear. Dave's the expert, not me. But what I can tell you is there's an Archon in play. The Insect's sacked. We're going to have to discard a card is TJ. And, life needs to change. We're doing all that, doing the Christmas list. The cruel ultimatum impression that you spoke to is going to take place. Another Grist in hand for TJ. That one might be able to take care of the Archon and maybe stymie some of the bleeding. Not in great shape.
No, I'm trying to figure it out. I don't really see a good reason for this. Because also if you do it for 2, you clear both the Grist and the creature, which means none of your Archons can get killed. So I don't really understand this.
Yeah, I see Dwarven Mine. It looked like one of the Triomes and a Persistent hand. Must be something we're missing somewhere. Either way, back to TJ we go. Very quickly going to untap and roll up Grist, which is going to... Is that an insect?
Yeah, it is. It is an insect.
So we get the 2 1/1s. Let's go. Achievement unlocked. 2 insect tokens.
Wow has been called.
Wall of Roots deployed. Beseju Who Endures deployed. And now here comes Grist numero 2, which I think is going to be rolled down. Yeah, there we go. Sacrifice one of these insect tokens. Thank you. Take care of that Archon. Don't want that around anymore. And rebuilt board for TJ. Not a lot left going on in the hand. Back to Dave we go, and flipped Fable coming in. No haste for that one, though. Let's see what Dave can assemble. Archon did an impressive work on the last board. Got some cards moving, got some life moving. And we know there's a persist, and that's going to get cast right now. So Archon's back. Welcome back, Archon. We have produced an additional insect token that we can sack. We'll see if that's where TJ's head is. That and that Yawgmoth that's left in hand, that one's going to get discarded. I think that's Yawgmoth number 3. 2 of them milled off Grists. Third one from the hand into the yard. I think we're only working with one more in the deck. Brutal. And, I mean, with Flipped Fable just hanging around, I mean, the game ends very quickly, even with only one Archon. Here's when Ren added to the mix, able to continue hitting land drops. And attack with the Fable token, make a treasure.
Walk with Wog Roots, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
I'm trying to figure out what Dave's plan was, because I am pretty sure he knows that he can creativity for 2 there. I guess there was a lightning bolt. Is there a Leyline Binding as well?
I don't see. You can't get a great look. No, it looks like a Triumph and a Dwarven Mine. There's a lightning bolt. Are we bolting the Wall of Roots? Looks like they might be. All right. Oh no, we're bolting the Grist. Okay, that's probably better. Can't minus, but don't let him have anything. Well, if he only has Wall of Roots, we're probably nothing we lose to.
TJ has 0 cards in hand, and also I don't think he had a second. I think that too much has to go right for him to win from there.
Agreed. I mean, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know if there is, like, you could probably Demonic Tutor there as your draw step, and it's not.
Yeah.
Yawgmoth doesn't even do it. So, over to game number 3. Another game number 3 match here for us. TJ versus Dave. Some really, really interactive Magic. Okay, well, you can't name creativity because, as we saw, you could just do the persist thing instead. So what are we going to end up naming? Either way, looks like Dave had to do a quick run to the restroom. So, over to Michael Mapson on Amulet Titan versus Joshua Head playing Rakdos Scam. The Scam deck, first time I've seen it on the day today, and I'm excited to see that one in action. Wilds of Eldraine is legal. See if there's some copies of Not Dead After All in his deck. It is common in the new set, said to be a small upgrade over some of the Feign Death, Undying Evil type effects that are available in the format as it stands today. And kicking it off with a Scam. Here comes Grief pitching Thoughtseize. We're going to resolve the look at your hand first. Mapson checking for that. Looks like Wondering and Dryad and Elysian Grove, I believe. Choosing Dryad, and there is the Feign Death effect. I think that one's Undying Evil.
Yeah, I mean, Feign Death and Undying Evil, I think, literally the same text on them.
I thought one of them made you lose life.
No, that's
Undying Evil, counter, Undying. When it dies, yeah, okay, so it just gives Undying. What does Feign Death do? Let's look. You get a counter for that one?
You do, I'm pretty sure.
There we go, got it on screen. Target creature, once creature dies, return to the battlefield tapped with a +1/+1 counter. Yeah, I guess they just do the same thing. Oh, that one's Undying Malice. They're just all the same thing. They just all do the same thing.
So
yeah, okay.
There's a weird corner case where Not Dead After All is worse. It's specifically versus Rhinos when you have Engineered Explosives on 0, because the Wicked Roll gets destroyed when you pop the EE.
Okay. Interesting. So EE specifically would kind of get you. All right.
But no, you play EE in your Scam deck versus Rhinos, so that's where
Scam effect and 7 damage come rumbling across. No play for Josh. He's kind of done his work. Passing back. Saga ticking up. Let's see if Mapson, he's drawn a few cards at this point. Do we have any kind of follow-up? I don't think the constructs are going to be good enough to save you on their own. What can we assemble here? Doing some math. That can't be a good sign if you're a Joshua Head fan.
Well, I don't think there's that much math to do, because if the last 2 cards say for Mapson War Amulet and a Primeval Titan, that wouldn't even be good enough, probably. So I'm not sure what he was thinking about there, but we're back to our other match.
Yeah, we'll put a pin in that one. Let's get back. Dave Shields back from the restroom break, and here to figure out what kind of hand of 7 cards we're going to keep. Looks like TJ already has a hand dialed up, likes it. Ready to go on the play for this round. I think that might matter a little bit. We certainly saw it kind of come up so far in the matches we've watched. As far as mana dorks being able to ramp things out faster, certainly part of the equation for what TJ's trying to do. Better play. Bolts done a good job of slowing down TJ in the game so far. One present for Dave in the 6th. There it goes. Verdant Catacombs, no play, passing of the turn. Over to Dave Shields we go. Draw step. Gonna deploy. I have to imagine a fetch land of some kind. Nothing to bolt. Probably fetch a try on this turn. Let's see if he's interested in that. Go. Let's say Meyer go. Some classic competitive magic. Fetch land go, fetch land go. Love to see it. Gonna make some green mana to make a Yawgmoth. So now, what I was talking about before, right? The bolts looked great there in game number 2. Less good, I'd argue, here in the face of an 0-4 Wall of Roots and a 1-1 Undying.
Yeah, not the best. And also, I mean, Dave's going to pick up on this. It's clear that TJ drew Yawgmoth this turn. Do as what you will with that information.
Yeah, I don't know what you can necessarily derive from that, but I would agree with your assessment, given it wasn't played on turn 1. There's a lot of downside. Just getting out there. Even Ren's not a disaster. It's like, okay, down tick your Ren. Now it's Undying. Attack your Ren for even more damage. Like, okay, thanks. Over to Dave we go. Didn't get a great look at the land fetched. I'm going to assume that one's Xander's Lounge. Grixis Triome. Let's see what our follow-up here for turn 2 is going to be. Steam Vents into. There is Ren in 6. That one's going to roll up and bring the Bloodstained Mire back to hand. Back to TJ we go. I see a Yawgmoth in hand among other cards. Could deploy it this turn if we want.
It's probably a Jetmir Garden because it's hard to cast Ren and 6
yeah, you can't cast it.
Yeah.
It's not legal. It could be the Jund one too, the Zayator's Proving Ground. It had to make green, I can tell you that. Alongside Steam Vents, it had to make green.
It's true. It does actually make sense to fetch Jetmir Garden first, because later you can fetch Xander's Lounge tapped, and then cast Leyline Binding off the garden relatively often, and I think that's a pretty common line to play.
I have to agree with that assessment as well. Here is 4 mana. There is a Chord of Calling. And over to Dave we go. Shieldred Trigger, not going to miss that one. Is the stack empty? No, it is not. 2 damage for Dave. A lot of options. Leyline Binding, Lightning Bolt. We got removal spells. Question is, how do we want to use them, and do we want to use them? Clearing the way from the board is helpful, but Yawgmoth ever looming as a potential problem.
So, Dave didn't want to cast Leyline Binding up deep because if you wait to take 2 damage, you can cast the Binding for 1 mana instead, I think, is the logic here. And then so you can cast Binding Bolt. So you're sacrificing 2 life to make much better usage of your mana, I think is the reality.
Yeah, certainly life total as a resource is something that gets tossed around a lot. I see that here. And how Dave's playing, I like the sequencing quite a bit. And you mentioned Lightning Bolt. Yeah, now has a reasonable target as that Wall of Roots now only has 3 toughness. So you can actually take care of that one. Yeah, that has to be a Jetmir's Garden because it is red and... it is green and white and it has to be red. So that is a Jetmir's Garden going after the Shield Druid. And it looks like we're going to respond maybe with a Chord. Yeah, we're going to respond with a Chord. Green made from Wall of Roots, then green from tapping the Wall of Roots. And Yawgmoth, Shelly going to give you the last... I guess, mana for your Chord of Calling to make it X equals 1. Is this only Yawgmoth? Could be like Delighted Halfling, I guess, if you need mana. Or... yeah, it is going to be another copy of Yawgmoth. Oh yeah, Haywire Might's also in the deck, so if we're concerned about answering... the Leyline Binding Shieldred's part of our primary game plan, which, like I said, I think there's a Yawgmoth in hand for TJ, so the second Yawgmoth makes a lot more sense in that context. And, as you mentioned, you talk a lot about what the sequences of plays communicate to Dave. If he knows that Haywire Might's the thing, which we did see because it was the second Insect Maiden in game 2, then not grabbing that suddenly looks a little bit weird, and so it's, okay, it's Yawgmoth time.
So there's a Yawgmoth and another Chord. Let's see, how much mana do we have? We have 4 plus No. I don't think we can quite win next turn, but we can do a lot.
Well,
Now,
not anymore. With Bolt going after Wolvers,
Right.
can't even cast the Yawgmoth. It's the bin. Land need to be drawn for TJ, otherwise this Yawg can't be played. Big draw step here. It's Grist. Well, that's pretty
also-
good.
Yeah, so you can hit Dave for 2, minus the Grist, shoot Ren and 6, which is the most intuitive play, I would say.
I agree with that. Especially after a bunch of removals been used, just kind of clearing the board and being like, okay, I have a Planeswalker, you don't. Fine spot for TJ to be until he draws a land for his Yawgmoth. Don't see a lot of other intuitive stuff. We could maybe like Haywire Might, like chord for Haywire Might and do that if that's a thing that we're sensitive to, is maybe Shieldred matters. A couple options for TJ. See what he decides to do.
Didn't work.
One issue I have with that line of play is it lines up pretty poorly versus second Leyland Binding. Whereas if you go Grist minus attack for 2, Grist minus regrow, your wolf has a 2/2. It works out a little bit better versus a second Leyland Binding, because then Dave has to spend the binding on Grist, essentially. And you end up with another token.
We attacked for 1 and passed the turn. So Court of Calling still available at any point in time. For 1. What are we missing? Oh, maybe we're grabbing Delighted Halfling just to allow ourselves to cast the Yawgmoth. Okay.
I think so. We're going to chord for a mana source of sorts, because the thing about the Yawgmoth deck is there's so many powerful 4s, whether it be Yawgmoth, Shieldred. Sometimes you see copies of the One Ring in the deck, as well.
Dave, now suddenly Dave, you can see, trying to figure out exactly what TJ's up to. Only one attack with a Young Wolf would signal chord, trying to figure out what could even be chorded for that matters here. Now, it actually also could be Archon time, right? We could be grabbing Dwarven Mine here, and then it's creativity for 1, maybe?
No, he's grabbing a Goblin Shaman, so what do you think that
Oh,
means?
it could be anything. There's a lot of Goblin Shaman makers, Make Dwarven Miners and make Goblin Shamans. Here you go. You can see the token creeping its way onto the battlefield here for Dave Shields. Nothing to see here, it could be anything. Could be anything. All right, Goblin Shaman moved out of the way. Here's the Dwarf. Remember, not a miner. Despite coming from the Dwarven Mine, just not a miner. Can't mine. Not capable. Uptick from Red and 6. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, uptick. Here is Bloodstained Mire. Back to hand. All right. Now what? It is Fable the Mirror Breaker. So I do see creativity in hand. It kind of heads up, I guess, from Dave. Not going for the just the creativity for 1, because once again we can just grist that down, and if there's a chord that you're scared of, we're not far from that. So we have made a Goblin Shaman. We've held up Jetmir's Garden here. You can see that land untapped. So that represents basically the suite of removal that isn't counter spells. And TJ's turn to think here.
I think it's the second Leyland Binding I saw.
Oh, that would be a good one here.
Yeah. Also, I think there's just a lot of games versus Yawgmoth where creativity for 1 is not good enough. Obviously, the last game was an exception because he had to persist to rebuy it after he got killed. I think in this game, probably a creativity 1 would not be good enough if I had to guess a reasonable amount of the time.
Young Wolf number 3.
Right. And, I mean, we've seen just multiple versions of blowouts, too, right?
Honestly,
not just the Boseiju, but, you could do things like activate Yawgmoth if you can get that in play. Bowmasters can sometimes disrupt the token production. So just creativity for 1 is just actually somewhat easy for the Yawgmoth deck to disrupt. And that has been a relevant part of the texture of this game as it's played out.
That bolt on that wall was pretty good.
And Delighted Halfling is going to be the card that is grabbed.
The discussion was bolt on the wall was pretty good. I would have also bolted the wall in Dave's seat because it's an easy way to just slow them down, stop them off of their 4th mana, and bolt can't even kill Yawgmoth anyways, so...
Yeah, that's the question, is how good is Bolt in the matchup? Well, it can kill some of the other stuff. How good is the other stuff? Well, it varies. And here, the Bolts, I think that's a big part of Dave's success in this matchup so far, is making sure that those find good targets. And he's done a good job of that. As here is Yawgmoth, uncounterable, couldn't counter it anyway if you wanted to. And going to interplay with 2 Young Wolves ready to go. What does that mean for leyline binding considerations? Can TJ start going for stuff now?
Well, I think Dave was thinking about binding a Young Wolf in response, but I think what's going to happen is he's going to binding Yawgmoth with the Undying on the stack.
Yes, that seems to be where we are. Dave seems to have stopped what we've got going on here with the Young Wolf Undying from the first sacrifice on the stack. And now it looks like actually TJ's going to start aggressively going for the creatures anyway. So we're going after the Goblin Shaman with this -1/-1 targeting. Leyline binding in response. Okay. I love this. Just slap it on top. It's gone. You can't. No response. It's gone. TJ says not quite. As here's the second Young Wolf going to attempt to put a -1/-1 counter on Goblin Shaman. So as soon as all the triggers and stuff would resolve, the Goblin Shaman's set to die. But for now, the Young Wolf is back and a card comes. Now, are we going to sack the Halfling? Is this question. So there's still a draw on the stack yet. I guess for the people. There's still a draw on the stack. Goblin Shaman's still around. Yeah, we are going to sacrifice the Delighted Halfling, draw another card, and remove the -1/-1 counter from the Young Wolf. So there we go, got another card coming. Likely to draw land, says TJ. Now we're going to go after the Dwarven Mine as well. So that's going to clear all the creatures and do a lot to mitigate what's possible from a creativity on the following turn. You mentioned beating 1 for 1 is actually not that difficult. We're going to see if that actually holds to be true. And Young Wolf back with a 1/1 counter. Yawgmoth still waiting to die to this binding.
So the problem is TJ didn't actually draw a land in those 2 draws so far. 3 draws? A bunch of draws.
Draws. Yeah, we got one more coming. Yeah, it looks like we're going to stop that. And the other Young Wolf's going to come back. And there comes the last draw, which does find a land, but it's a tap land.
Yeah, that's kind of tragic for TJ.
Yeah, there's Blooming Marsh go. Would have liked to deploy, I'm sure, some sequence of either Haywire Mart or another Young Wolf to really keep things going. And now back to Dave we go, who looks like a creativity and just a bunch of lands in hand. I have to imagine we're going to get rid of some of these.
Yeah.
It's all Archons. New deck name proposition? Hello? There is Archon of Cruelty.
It's not quite accurate because some people play like Elishnorn, Mother of Machines, some people play Atraxa. Sometimes you use Sundering Titan in the sideboard as well.
All right, so not quite all Archons. Not quite all Archons. Well, here is an Archon now. All Archons on the battlefield for Dave right now, and that's going to trigger. Discard a Yawgmoth is TJ. Just got extras? You got plenty of cards in hand. Yawgmoth's got to hit the bin. And Archon's triggers resolved. 1 mana up. Once again from the Jetmir Garden for Dave, and we know it represents a leyline binding. That's going to be a tough squeeze for TJ to get through.
This is looking very, very, very good for Dave. Especially, it's really the run on 7, I think, is the issue now. Even if you kill the Archon, how do you kill Archon and the Wren at the same time? You can't really, given how Yawgmoth is built, generally speaking.
Yeah, because we need a creature to sacrifice to Gris, so it has to start with get a creature in play, which looks to be where TJ's starting right now with the Young Wolf that he's holding in his hand. Yep, there goes Young Wolf. Okay. Thinking in responses, Dave. That resolves. Haywire Might. That can bring back a Yawgmoth. So we're just trying to Yawgmoth now?
I guess so.
Sack? Yeah, I mean, this is like the same thing. You can just do it now. Because if you can just assemble, like, find a land, and then find Blood Artist, check mark. Got it. And that's way better than planning to answer the board and pass the turn. So that's where TJ's at. Does not know about Leyline Binding, but maybe getting a sense for it, given the pauses from Dave. A lot of thinking here for Dave. TJ waiting, anxious to get the Yawgmoth back.
So I think the same thing's going to happen. Dave will just Leyline Binding with the first Undying on the stack and basically break it up that way.
Maybe. He seems to be reaching for mana now.
I guess you could also go after one of the Young Wolves in response, which also constrains. TJ's at 9 mana's a bottleneck. I think this is mostly a check mark for Dave.
Yeah, well, there's 2 more life coming from the Haywire Might. I don't know if that's already been tracked. Didn't get a great look at the life totals beforehand. But yeah, now Yawgmoth's back in play. Dave's tapped out. Could have had a counter to the Archon. This is optimistic. Yeah, Young Wolf sacrifice making it 2-2. Yeah, there we go. Up to 10 is TJ. So down 1. Oh, Blooming Marsh. And Twitch chat may drag him for a bit, but you know what? Twitch chat's not the one sitting at 10-2 right now. So anyway, I don't know if we got the backup dialed up. If we have time for the backup, either way, I assume that would get put on screen if that's what we're going to do. So otherwise, I can only assume that we're going to cut to a break and cut to Honorog. He will fill you in with the rest. This actually is our last round with both me and Jarvis in the booth. So we're going... Okay, we have the backup. We're actually going to transfer the backup. I was about to say, maybe this is the last you're going to hear of us. Not quite. You get one more match of Magic with me and Jarvis in the booth. So with that, let's dive on down to that, which I believe is, it's the Scam versus Amulet we saw earlier. We saw Mapson kind of taking on a decision. And what a different spot we are here. So Joshua Head did win game 1. And now we're here in game 2 with a Fury with a counter on it and 2 Amulets in play. A lot of pressure, but 2 Amulets is scary.
Well, there's also an 8-power creature attacking. One really, I guess, annoying thing about the matchup from the Amulet side is without drawing Dismember, you don't have a lot of agency versus beating like a scammed creature out on turn 1. It usually just kills you before you get to do things. Here it's Fury, which actually does kill in 3 turns.
Right, yeah. Assuming these life totals are accurate, it is just directly a 3-turn clock. So, Mapson had a great start. It looks like 2 forests, potentially. Draw Titan, we're in it! If we draw Titan, we're in it!
Titan or Pact, so it's 8 outs.
8 outs. Clean 8 outs. Blocker maybe adds to the mix, not clear.
Slam it!
Draw step. What is that? I didn't get a good look. Is that Dismember?
I don't know. What is that? It is Dismember!
It's Dismember, okay.
So you're taking 4?
So down to 6 goes Mapson, but that's 3 turns of clock from the Ragavan. Do we play this Teleria West? If we find Growth Chamber, it finds you the Titan. But
yeah, that's what he's thinking about.
Yeah, we don't know. Is the mana going to matter now, later? What draws? Yeah, you see Mapson trying to map out what sequence of draws does matter.
If you play the West this turn and you draw Growth Chamber, you can float the mana from it, and you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 1 short of Transmute.
Brutal. Well, there's Dothy Voidwalker just setting up for another attack that actually wouldn't even be lethal with Ragavan. Passing the turn back. Mapson drew a card, didn't get a good look. Titans continue to be good draws. I love the expressions, the body language of Map.
This was also a reason to play it last turn.
Yeah, wait, but we still couldn't. We've Titan this turn.
No, you would have been mana short. But I guess that lets you.
We're gonna find Summoner's Pact.
Okay, so we found Summoner's Pact, but now we need a bounce land.
Also, the Teleria West should be under Dr. Voidwalker, right?
Yeah, I think we're correct on that now. Yeah. There we go. I don't know. I don't know if that's a card that Josh ever going to reach for. This Dothy Voidwalker representing a 2-turn clock. We do have the Grazer as well to check the Ragavans. That was not going to be a player, but Dothy plus Lightning Bolt's lethal. I see a Terminate in hand. Don't get a great look at other stuff, but holding up for Titan might just put the check mark on everything.
Yeah, I didn't get a good look at the Rector Scam player hand. I guess if there's literally Terminate plus Bolt, it's lethal, obviously. Well, actually, just Bolt is lethal.
Yeah, Shadow. Yeah, that's bolts. Yeah. Bolts were all done here. Okay, let's see. We got Terminate, Ragavan, Blood Crypt, and something else. Grief, maybe?
I'm gonna shock in Blood Crypt. Going down to 12.
God, if it's Grief, you could just get the Pact. That might be enough.
Yeah,
but play Ragavan. Move to combat.
Play Ragavan.
Swing for 3.
It is Grief.
Down to 3.
Wow. Attack for 3. Down to 3 is Michael Mapson. Just passing the turn. Okay. Michael Mapson rubbing his hands together, thinking he has some outs. I don't know that he actually does, and it's Beseju who endures.
Nah, he's dead now. Well, actually,
He's dead. There's the
Yeah.
fist bump. Oh, still had all these. Check these out, Maps. And
Oh.
he's like, yeah, I can beat those anyway.
so the problem was, even if he could, so yeah, there's no way for him to play the Titan that turn because he doesn't have the bounce land, is the issue.
Right. Yeah. You need a bounce line to even get the Titan in play, and then who knows what the
Right.
Terminate represents. And a tough spot for Mapson. Got scammed. I guess in both games that we watched, really some true scamming was happening from Joshua Head, who's going to advance to 9-3. Another good performance from the Rakdos scam deck. And once again, kind of showcasing some true classic Modern as we know it today. Lots of scamming, but still, I mean, a very interactive format, something that I love it. I don't know. I like the current state of Modern. I think it's really cool, really interesting, and there's a lot of micro decisions to be made, and that's the kind of magic I like to see.
Yeah, we saw that matchup a lot in the Pro Tour. Specifically, Dom Harvey was the one playing 61 card Amulet. He actually went 5-1 versus Scam, but I'm not sure that's actually indicative of the matchup because he did lose to Jake Beardsley, the Pro Tour winner, in the top 4 of the Pro Tour. I would say that Dom would say that he thinks the matchup is still not great, but it's winnable sometimes, is how I would describe it.
Those are the best matchups. It sounds like a matchup that has play to it. If you can get some spots, get some edges, that's kind of Magic at its best, in my opinion. Well, either way, that is going to do it for both this round and us in the commentary booth. Believe you will be joined by Mason, and I actually don't know who Mason's partner is, so forgive me, Mason's partner, for commentary next round. Thank you, Anurag, for having us. As always, you can find our Twitter handles underneath our faces that you see on screen right now if you want to reach out to either of us. But yeah, this will be our final round. Jarvis, it's been a pleasure having you in the booth, and I think this is our first time working together. I enjoyed my time.
Yeah, always a pleasure. I love watching Magic. Hope to see you soon at some other event, you know?
Absolutely. And of course, we'll talk to you in the various Discords that we share as well. So it was a pleasure. Thank you all in Twitch chat. Don't go anywhere. We will be back with round number 13 with some new casters in the booth, and they are going to take you home all the way through the finals. Anurag, thank you again for having us. Let's cut to either Anurag or a break.